Hey everyone's Classic DM, and I want to do a video today to share something I learned this morning, and it's called Manipulate, and actually has an impact on the attack of opportunity. Before we go any further, I want to give credit to this. One of the guys in the Pathfinder 2e fan-group on Facebook, which you should join. It's a really great Facebook group. Very useful conversations, people that know the rules really, really well, sharing how things happen. The back and forth going on there is really fun. It's not like mem hell or anything. So it's a very nice group. I encourage you to come join if you want to. I post over there all the time, but there's some really smart guys in there. One of the fellows, David Yembe, clarified this for me today, and I wanted to share what I learned from David with you, because it may help you in your own game. So if you played 3.5 or you played 3.0, you've got millions of situations that arise where someone's moving past someone, or someone's trying to cast a spell next to someone, or someone's trying to do something, and it's provoking an attack of opportunity. Well, I want to talk about that in the context of Pathfinder 2nd Edition, what I've learned. So let's just pull up a rule. This is one of the lower levels of the Glacier Rift or Frost Giant Jarl, which you may have seen in one of my previous episodes. We're just going to use this map as a white box today. So we've got enemies in here that don't appear in that dungeon, but we want to use this little location right around here to kind of as a demonstration to talk about some of these rules of the things I learned today. So we can do a little close-up view of that and give you a sense of what we're talking about. So before we go any further, though, I want to pull up the rule itself. So the attack of opportunity doesn't really appear in the rule book, or CRB, until you start talking about feats. And in the barbarian feat at level 6, they can take an attack of opportunity. And if you look here to the right, I've highlighted a couple of key words. So a creature within your reach uses a manipulate action. This is what one of the main subjects of our video is today. A move action, which you probably understand pretty obviously. Someone's trying to move past someone. Makes a ranged attack, or leaves a square, basically kind of disengaging from combat, like, oh, I'm just going to move away from you. In 3.5, 3.0, and even Neverwinter Nights, if you like to play games, it would provoke an attack of opportunity. Well, what is that? It's basically a reaction. You see the little arrow symbol that's up here? This is really great. I love these little symbols that they have in the game. They're really useful. With all the little pips they're using for action counts and the way they've broken things down into these conceptual ideas, really, really useful. As you can see below Dragon's Breath is 2 actions, right, on the same page. Anyway, so it's a reaction. It means you can do it for free. You don't have to spend an action point. It's not your turn. It can happen off when it's not your turn. Okay, we got that. So manipulate. So you say to yourself, okay, if you search the whole rule book for the word manipulate or manipulate action, you don't find an entry anywhere that truly defines what that is on its own. Though that's something I think they probably should add at a later date, or maybe it'll be included in the Game Master's Guide, or maybe it already is. I feel sure that's already written. It's going to go to the presses eventually. So I wanted to share this because a big light bulb went off in my head when that happened. Jump ahead to page 303 with me here, where we talk about spells. Because in my mind, I was thinking that the manipulate action was doing something kind of like this fire giant's trying to do here, maybe trying to pull these 2 levers that will open this gate. Or you know, obviously someone casting a spell like this is, say this is a barbarian, this is some evil NPC, he's trying to cast a spell, the barbarian's right in front of him, so I can interrupt it. That would make sense to me. But I didn't ever think of it as an interrupt action. I always thought of it as, well, someone's casting a spell right in front of me, I can just whack them, and if I can hit them, I'll interrupt them. Or in this situation here, we got this. This is an illusion. This is from AD&D. Let's just this is Obscura. Let's just say it's any caster, a sorcerer or a wizard from Pathfinder 2e. And we got a frost giant right in front of us. She starts to cast a spell. Does he get to do the same kind of thing? Actually, no. You're like, wait a minute. So it's not a global rule anymore. It's a feat-based rule. Let's go over here to the spell definitions itself, okay? Let me just pull this. We'll get this attack of opportunity out of the way. You don't need to see this anymore. So if you look here carefully, there's the word in parentheses, multiple occasions, right? You have material component of spells. They always have these 4 elements to them. Some spells use all of them. Some of them don't. Somatic is considered a manipulate action as well. In fact, we'll just do it this way. We're just going to material and somatic. We'll do it this way. And also we have focus, and we can talk about those really quickly. Yes, my mouse sucks. This one sucks. I hate it. I can't stand it. I have this really awesome gaming mouse, but it's in another room. I should move it in here. All right, so material component. You can read yourself quite easily what material components are. So you're using an object, you're consuming an object, a pinch of dust or whatever, a bat wing, whatever it is. So you got to use a piece of object. Now, why do you have to have this piece of object? This, you have to, it gets consumed when you're casting a spell. The game requires you to have a freehand tree for the material component. Well, I'm talking too fast. Let's slow that down. So you've got to use this thing in your hand, the material component, when you're casting the spell. Maybe you got to pull, let's just say it's a piece of ash from a ground up orc jaw. Okay, I don't know if that's really one or not. So you have this orc jaw and you ground it up, and I don't know what it's going to do, right? So you pull out your pocket, you get this bone dust in your fingers, and you have to get the bone dust and do something, rub it between your fingers, put it between your palms, spit on it. I don't know what happens, but you need this. Without the orc jaw bone dust, you can't cast a spell. This is something that's been around since AD&D forever. Now, the somatic component, it's not sound, it looks like sound, but this is basically incantations, someone using their hands, doing gestures. So you can just imagine that any MMO or RPG, if you're a computer game player, you've seen this many, many times where, you know, you start casting a spell, winding up a spell, you use your hands to make actions like incantation or tracing runes in midair or manipulating your fingers. Now you get the material component, the orc jaw dust, and then you're moving your fingers around these really cool Ronnie James Dio devil horn symbols or whatever else you're doing that's fantastical and amazing, and this is how you're casting a spell, right? Now, verbal component, you might be saying all these mystical arcane words. That's pretty obvious. You're vocalizing. A bard does this. You know, if you're an EverQuest 1 player, you know the bard can do that and twist other songs as well. So you're not trying to, if you're an EverQuest 1 player, you're not having to beat the drum to play it. You get your singing short sword out and you're doing it without having to do anything. So the verbal component is not a manipulate action. So we're starting to see, when you look in the spell section on page 303, this is where the word manipulate gets defined a little bit better, but it's kind of a secondary description as opposed to blatantly spelled out like everything else is. For example, if you look up stride or you look up strike, it's got a nice hierarchy and a paragraph that says this is what a stride is, and this is what a strike is. All right, so focus is when you're using an object. Maybe it's like a wand or some kind of orb or some kind of scepter or something like that in your hand. There's probably millions of things that could possibly be. So you need to be able to use that in your hand. So you're manipulating that object. Are you spinning it around like Harry Potter? Or are you holding the orb and rubbing your hand over it and putting the bone jaws dust on top of it and sprinkling it? So all these cool, crazy, fantastical things you're going to do when you're casting spells. So in summary, doing those kinds of things is what? Manipulate. It's a manipulate action. So there's other things that can be a manipulate action as well. So let's go back to the attack of opportunity description, which I believe is on page 90, with the barbarian to read what else. So now we know that spell casting, as long as it has a material, somatic, or focus component to it, right? Material, somatic, or focus, not verbal, is considered a manipulate action. It's called a manipulate trait. If you want to look at it in particular detail, here's what it is. Here's what it says right here. Verbatim, spell components, right? All right. Tells you how many actions it takes, material, somatic, verbal, the spell components described in detail below, the traits and requirements to cast a spell activity. If you can't provide the components, you'd be able to cast a spell. So it says manipulate in brackets, so it's kind of hidden away. If you're just reading through the book, you may not pick up on that. So when you're doing spells that have a material, somatic, or focus component, you are basically doing a manipulate action, okay? So if you're doing a manipulate action, anyone with a feat, not just anyone that feels like it, anyone with the feat of attack of opportunity, which doesn't mean everybody, is going to be able to get a free reactionary attack on you. So here's where it gets even tricky. Now, of course, we all know about the move part and things like that. So let's look at the close-up of our silly little crappy, poorly painted, horrible miniatures. I painted them myself. Aren't they great? Let's just take a look at this overhead view here real quick. I'm just going to slide over here so you can see things a little bit better. All right, so in our scenario, we have this caster standing on top of a giant-sized table with a big frost giant in front of her. Well, guess what? Look up the frost giant in your bestiary, or how you want to pronounce it. Bestiary, I call it bestiary. It's got beast in it. On page 171, you'll notice that the frost giant doesn't have attack of opportunity listed as a feat. It's like, unless there's something else in the rules that says otherwise, that means you can cast spells standing directly in front of a frost giant and it won't provoke an attack of opportunity for him. When I saw that, I was like, oh my goodness, that's crazy. But then I turned the page and read the cloud giant and the fire giant, and then they do have it. So the cloud giant and the fire giant, they do have attack of opportunity. Now they all have like catch rock and junk like that. So the frost giant, he's kind of a lower tier dude. Let's put a big nasty fire giant in front of us. Like we said, this is a white box. This is the actual room. And let's take a look at that a little closer. It's more dramatic that way, wouldn't you say? So you got the fire giant in front of you, and the caster says, I'm going to cast a spell. I'm attacking the darkness, right? And he's going to get this free attack of opportunity and knock the crap out of you. Probably cut your head off in the process because it's going to hit so hard. That's very interesting. So to me, I was like, wow, I never thought of it that way. I had always thought of it in the old days where anyone that did anything, anyone that was a martial melee class, got a chance to hit you. Even in my AD&D game, I had a house rule where anyone with a weapon, they see you start winding up a spell, 6-second cast at one segment, it was back in those days, spell, they're going to free swing at you. And if they hit you, I would have to interrupt you. I wouldn't consume the spell for you, but that's all house rules. Let's forget about that. Now, what else would be considered a manipulate action? So I'm going to move these kids out of the way, even though they're so amazing looking. I'm going to move these kids out of the way, and I'm going to move those other guys out of the way. Let's zoom in on this barbarian here. Let's zoom in on this little area right here, okay? So what do we have going on here? So you're looking from over the shoulder of the barbarian, and it's, what's her name, Amiri or something? Actually, I think this mini was actually created a while back to be the Amiri miniature itself. So let's get that out of the way. And they say we've got this fire giant here, okay? And it's trying to pull some levers that are going to open this gate, which goes towards the throne room and the glacial rift of the frost giant Jarl, right? Sorry, I don't have a Pathfinder 2E module yet. It's still in the Amazon truck stuck in Topeka, Kansas. It'll get here eventually. So if I'm within a square, my reach, I'm using a two-handed weapon, and I'm close enough to this fire giant, and I'm playing a barbarian, I picked up that feat, that means I've got the 100 level to do that. It could have just been this, could have been a caster, could have been a frost giant. Anyone's susceptible to it if they start doing the action, if you, the character, have the attack of opportunity feat. So if you don't have the attack of opportunity feat, you may not be able to do anything about it. You may need to wait your turn, and if you're low perception and not winning initiative, and you're back in the back of the pack, if you ever played Divinity Original Sin, you just like to be in the back of the pack, the whole battle's over, and you take one step and it's done. You'd be at a serious disadvantage. So if you're playing a martial character or a melee character, you're definitely going to need this. So when you look through all your feat choices for your fighter or your champion or your barbarian, I highly recommend, and I haven't built those characters yet, I highly recommend keeping your eyes peeled for this. And as a game master, it looks to me like you're going to need to keep your eyes peeled for this as well for your enemies. So that's very interesting. That's something I never thought of, and that's all related to the attack of opportunity action. So the frost giant here is doing a manipulate action. As a GM, I would deem him running over and trying to grab two massive iron bars and pull them down simultaneously. He's using his hands. He's using his hands to do something. So that's manipulating an object. He's not actively defending. He's not got his legs bent, facing you, eye contact, watching your hips, holding his hands out. He doesn't have his two-handed axe in his hand ready to defend. He's manipulating something else. He's trying to do it really quickly, hoping you don't take a swing at him. If you're close enough, you can wail on this guy. Then you just get one attack, and there's all kinds of other abilities associated with this. So I thought that was really, really, really interesting. So one last thing I want to go over. Let's just say, for example, let's move these guys out of the way here. Let's clear this off. There goes somebody. There goes our friend Jar, poor guy. All right, let's clear all these torch marks and junk off of here. Manipulate, manipulate, manipulate. So you're a druid, right? You're a druid, and you've got a fallen animal companion. I call him Doggo. So Doggo's lying on the ground, and he's not doing too good. Actually, we got a Doggo token I made a long time ago. Let's get the tokens out here. I got all these darn tokens I made a long time ago. Where's a Doggo? Here's a wolf. That'll work. So you've got an animal companion. It's a cute puppy, and cute puppy's gotten knocked, and cute puppy's on the ground unconscious and dying, and I've used this example before, and what's her name, Lenny or something like that, let's say, which in our situation we use Felcherna. We've got our druid trying to do a stabilize action or something like that, right? So she's doing the stabilize action, and you happen to try to do that while there's a frost giant who's not his turn standing right there. Now we'll use this guy here. It's not as big, it'll block the view so much. He's not going to get an attack of opportunity. He could say he was standing right next to you, right? And you're going to try to stabilize. Now, the rule of stabilize may be it's probably longer than that. There's going to be subtleties. My example is probably crap. It's probably a crap example. But if it was a different enemy, like a fire giant, he's going to get attack of opportunity. Or if it was a higher level barbarian NPC that was going to do that, it might get to do that. If it's a drow, how about this? If it's just some warrior, say it's an enemy NPC warrior, and she doesn't have that ability, not warrior but fighter, sorry, out of all words, everyone's class names is all jumbled mess these days, they may not be able to do that if it's not their turn. So in summary, the manipulate action and attack of opportunity are interesting because manipulate's not as defined as well as I'd like for it to be. It's mentioned, but it's not really spelled out. But you can infer this from how it's described in other parts of the rulebook. So it means two things. You got to use your hands to do something. That's simple. If you're using your hands to do something, or you're going to be a manipulate action. So if I'm using stabilize, or I'm trying to pull the lever, or I'm casting a spell, those are all manipulate actions if the spell has the material or the somatic component or a focus, an object you hold in your hand. All right, I'll keep this one short. So hope this was pretty useful. Hope it's helpful. Once again, shout out to David Yumbe who taught me this, which I thought was cool, by replying to one of my Facebook postings. Get a chance to pop by the Pathfinder 2E fan-group on Facebook. There's a lot of really smart people there. I also try to pop into the Paizo forums from time to time and ask questions. It's just way too much volume for me to keep track of. All right, hope this has been useful and you've enjoyed it. If you like these type of quick little learning, sharing information situations, let me know. I try to explain them and share how I discovered stuff, because in my mind, we're all trying to learn the game together so we can get to playing. And the sooner we know how to play it, the better things are going to be. All right, cool. Hope you had fun. And, if you brought your umbrella, you probably didn't get wet while you're listening. And we'll talk to you later. See you, man.